SBA. Great, thank you. I'm sure that's Miss White who's recording. Now, SBA in COVID, and we describe this COVID as novel. I personally think that it has lost its novelty, but it has been one that we have never seen before, and it continues as it changes, as it mutates. It causes us scientists to further become a little bit more creative than we were even before, right? Develop strategies relating to how we assess our students. And they are depending on us to take them through, and I'm sure the ministry is not expecting anything less than what was done before. So we have to be as creative as we can. Now, for today, we're going to be looking at the following objectives. Now, I have on my PowerPoint the importance of a mark scheme, the components of a mark scheme, skills to be assessed, sample mark schemes, and we're going to create mark schemes to assess some of those SBAs that we have seen and taught on a daily basis. However, the good doctor went through the importance of a mark scheme and the component. So we will just slide through those as quickly as we can. However, as a science teacher, I think that we need to relax, a bit, allow the adrenaline to flow, or the blood rush of the adrenaline to, inform and affect how we think. And so I throw in a bit of icebreaker, and I hope that we are up for it, because I like to relax a little before I actually indulge in work that I have to do or anything that is of importance. Now, I'm going to ask you to analyze the illusion painting that is on my screen. We can relax a bit before we move on. You can use the raise hand feature to respond. What are you seeing, science or scientists? My scientist colleagues that are with me right now, what are you seeing when you look at my screen? All right, Sonia, raise your hand, Miss White. Go ahead, Sonia.
Okay, so I'm seeing two persons within a face. So there's a face.
All right.
And within the face, I'm seeing two persons.
All right, great. Seeing two persons, I'm seeing those two persons too, and I'm seeing the face of probably a mid-age gentleman with not much. I'm not sure if he's gray. He's gray, or probably it's because of the age. Yes. Any other person want to share?
Yes, in one man playing the flute, sitting on a tree with a face, a tree root with a face, and the woman sitting on a rock in the background, close to a lake.
All right, I did not see the lake. Yes, I'm seeing the lake now. When I looked at it before, I did not see the lake. Great. All right, and we probably could say that the young boy, like a young boy to me, serenading this young lady with music, right? Tree root, yes, I'm seeing that also. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that. Yes, I'm seeing Charmaine with her hand up. Go ahead, Charmaine.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm seeing the two persons. It appears that the female is sitting on a rock. I think the illusion is part of, I don't know if it's a cloud or something that seemed to appear as the eye of the human head. It's not an actual human head. It's just the way the bow or the tree branch curves over and just the angle at which both persons are seated, to the extent that one of the persons, I think is the back that form, seem to form or give it the illusion that it's the person's nose. That sort of a thing. That's all I can remember right now because I'm not seeing the rest of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Charmaine, very well said. Let me also apologize for my phone ringing. I saw someone, just one, let's just take one more, Miss White, just one more response and we move right along.
Mr. Spooner.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm seeing a sad face on that tree. Very, very sad and depressing face. But then there's sun shining up above, so within the clouds. So probably that is off.
Very positive and optimistic. This painting, as they say, it's an illusion, and it gives us a different. Sorry, are you finished, sir?
Oh, yes, I am. Sorry about that.
Okay, yes. Gives us a different handle perspective at how we view things. A science teacher once told me when I was a teenager, I was in high school, that a scientist doesn't see things at face value. You see that door, you don't just see the door. You see the grain of the door. You're seeing colors and you're seeing much more than a normal person would see. And that is why we're called scientists. And as a result, scientists, colleagues, we believe in our children. And we are not just seeing them just at face value, you know, that one look like you're not going anywhere. That one looks like there's no hope. We know that deep within they could be, deep within a core, they could be something, some issues, but there are also possibilities that this child could be one of the best scientists that exist or that will ever exist. All right, so we're seeing possibilities. And this is a nice way to just relax your mind when you look at these illusions and to think beyond the normal, because scientists normally think critically and they think beyond what they see. They think beyond the normal. All right, great. Now, A.S.J. Keys say that teachers and all other health workers, they're doing a good job during this time. And I want to tip my hats to you teachers as I'm in the classroom right now. I'm not going to play this song for you right now. I'll prepare it to boost and encourage and perk your spirit in a little while. You are doing a good job, and let me give you thumbs up for that amidst all that has been happening, amidst the COVID and what it has caused us to be experiencing. I know it's challenging. I know that. You want to go into the physical space and you're worried about your health, right? And these children, it's not even affecting them as much as it affects us. And some of them refuse to wear the mask, and they're excited to see you and say they will not stay away sometimes. And we are weathering the storm, and I say tons of kudos to us as we continue to weather the storm and to educate the nation's children. Now, what is a MARC scheme? As I said, these were touched on earlier on. We know that MARC scheme is a plan, right? and it gives marks to students' response to a task. We say it is a system that rewards mark for a task that is given to the student. We say it's a guide, all right? And we know all of that. We know that it guides the children and the students as to the task that is given and the expectations that is expected of them, not only from us as a teacher, but from the education system. How important is a mark scheme? Of course, we heard this morning, it's important because it creates and it shows exactly how marks are allocated for the task that is given, all right? And it's informed the decision during grading. What constitutes a mark scheme, right? Again, a mark scheme should be reliable, yes? It should have a syllabus coverage. Oftentimes we use the text, the lab books times after times, and we just go through the whole, motion of just giving the students lab, but there should be much more meaning behind that. And so we should look through the syllabus to see if we're covering the syllabus. Early last week, a teacher asked me, Miss, how much lab we're supposed to be doing, right? And where should we take the labs from? Yes, you should be, of course, making sure that you are covering the skills, but you should be covering the syllabus also. So I say do as much lab as you can, but make sure that you're covering the syllabus, you're getting labs from your different units. All right, am I understood? Are we together? Do you agree with me? I want you to talk to me, it's going to be an interactive session. So please, because we're going to be looking at some of those mark scheme, and we're going to look at probably one or two of a mark SBA. All right. So scores awarded should be in line with the CXC standard. And we're going to be looking at a generic mark scheme, right? You know that it exists, and it should be used to guide the mark scheme that you create for your students. All right. Make sure that the marks being allotted should match at the level of difficulty. So don't bother create a mark scheme, and the mark scheme is so simple, and then you give the lab so challenging, and when you look, it doesn't even make sense when you're marking, right? Now, what is required in a mark scheme, right? We should have a benchmark for assessing a skill. Marks allotted for each of the skills that you give to the students. All skills areas should be represented, all right? Clearly defined aim and objective should be given to the students. A table of content, a guide which can be used accurately and consistently. Now I say to my colleague, give the students the mark scheme. Let them have the mark scheme. Let the mark scheme be available to the students, whether you want to, I say give it to them so they can have it in your book, but whether you want to attach it somewhere in the classroom, all right, or when you are doing the lab, then you have your lab and you have the mark scheme to match, but make sure the mark scheme is available to the students. Make sure they are privy to it, so they will know what is it, exactly what is it that you are expecting them to do. All right, so we know the skills for that are placed in the syllabus, marking of SBA. We know that we have planning and designing labs. We have we call it manipulation and measurement, observation and report, we call it ORR, analysis and interpretation, which says AI, and then we have, of course, drawing. Now I'm going to ask you to look at this. Now, this is also in the syllabus. If you look through it, you'll find it, and you'll see it's a guide to tell you the labs that you should be doing in year 1 and year 2. All right, so from grade 10, your students should begin their lab. And of course, when I moderate, I normally ask for the grade 10 book, because at least 8 labs should be in those books. I mean, they have started the lab component, the process. As a matter of fact, some schools would begin from grade 9, but at least grade 10, at least 8 labs should be in those lab books. And you might be asking, oh, the ministries, because since COVID, they have flexed the amount of labs that should be marked. Of course, by now you would know that it is 8 labs that they are looking for, but I say do as much as you can so that the students will learn. They would have an hands-on learning with all the topics. So do labs. Remember that labs are both the hands-on, the practical, and then there's a theoretical aspect to it. So you can't lose if you use lab to inform your class moving on. Now, well, this is going to come out in best practice, but since I remember now, this is what I normally practice. I normally say to my students, especially from grade 10, get yourself a little notebook and you do your labs there, right? I know some of us don't have time for that. When you do the labs, when you write the labs, right, you can actually show it to me so I can give you feedback so that when you are ready to put it in that lab book, you're not making a mess. Because some students, they put it and they grip out the page and they keep putting labs and especially if they're not so sure and they rip pages. So feedback is very, very important to our students and for us also, because when moderation time, they're looking for the feedback that you place in the lab book. All right, so as we notice on this, we have the year 1 in year 1 and 1 in year 2. All right, mark 20 marks, value 20 marks. ORR, 1 year 1, 1 in year 2. PD, 1 in year 1, 1 in year 2. And we have the goodly AI. All right. Now AI, as you see here, 20 marks. And the AI normally attracts a little bit more mark than the other labs. All right. So normally if you mark your lab, and you can use, and as I said before, you can adjust your mark scheme to suit what is it that you want the students, the concept that you want the students to learn. However, you are going to make sure that it's out of 10. So if you mark it out of 20, based on what you give them, the task that you give them. So you're marking out of 20, they get 15 out of 20. So 15 out of 20 times your 10. So it's still marked out of 10. While your AI is marked out of how much again? I want somebody a bright student to remind me. I'm seeing a hand up. Is it that Sonia didn't take your hand up or you have a point?
She just raised her hand.
Okay, go ahead, Sonia.
Okay, so based on the table that you presented, for year 1, what I'm seeing is 1 for but for year 2, it's 2 labs. But you said 1 in year 1, 1 in year 2.
1 in year 1, 1 in year 2. That will give you 2 labs.
Change, it's change. Because in all, look at the last table here. Number of times skill is to be tested or assessed 3.
Right. But as I said before, since COVID, they have flexed the amount of SBAs or labs a little. So if you check the handbook, which I'm going to make available to you, the handbook says 8 labs. Because during COVID, because of the challenges that we have, 8 labs. So you're going to be having 2 of each skills assessed by your moderator and just 1 drawing lab. Did that happen at the last time? The last time that the moderator moderated? Or last academic school year that we did an assessment?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
No, I
I'm
want
seeing Charmaine's hand. Charmaine, are you finished? Yes. Sonia?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Can I go ahead now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right. Could you please clarify 8 labs? Does it mean 8 labs covering the 2-year period, or it is 8 for grade 10, year 1, and 8 for year 2? That's what I want to know, because I'm not sure I'm getting it right in my head, even though I have read the information. Thank you.
All right. So 8. All right. So 8 labs. Year 1, 1 in year 1, 1 in year 2. All right. So you're going to have 2 MM, 2 ORR, because of what they're flexing it for COVID. All right. And then you're going to be choosing one drawing lab, the best lab that you probably would want to mark for all the students. Before now, they would have been looking at 1 in year 1, 2 in year 2, and so on. But because of COVID, it has been flexed a little. So it's 8 lab for INTE. Last year, when I moderated, we were instructed that we are marking all the labs in the book. Mark you. So let us get that straight. For my students, I did 25 labs during the COVID period. But of course, the moderator focused on 8 labs. Is that clear? Miss White, you had your hand up?
Yes, Miss.
I'm
Susan.
sorry. Oh, Miss White.
Oh,
Yes, sorry.
sorry. Hold on there. Miss, is it any clearer to you?
No, actually, I didn't. All right. Let me say it another way. Is it 16 labs over the 2-year period because of COVID? Or is it 8 labs over the 2-year period because of COVID?
8 labs over 2-year periods because of COVID.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, you're welcome. Go ahead, Miss White.
I sent you a message in the chat, but just to answer, to speak to the SBAs, for the teachers. So I did moderate last year. It's last year, yes. So there were 9 labs required, 1 for each year for the teachers. Regarding the number of labs that you complete, there is a minimum. So the students are supposed to practice each skill at least once before you grade it. So when Miss Francis mentioned that they're expecting to see at least 8 labs in the lab book at the end of grade 10, your students should have practiced each skill at least once before you would have given them a graded lab.
Okay. That's it, Miss White. Thank you so much, Miss White. So each 1, 2, 3, 4. You notice 4 skill area, 5 skill area. All right, so 8 labs and the 1 drawing lab. 1 drawing. I'm seeing another hand there, Miss White. Can we take that one and then we'll move right along?
Miss Bisoon, go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Just to be clear, all right. You're saying it's 8 labs over the 2-year period. However, the drawing lab is not included in the 8 labs. That is a lab separate. So it's actually 9 labs over the 2-year period. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. Let me apologize if that didn't come as clear as it says 8 lab plus the 1 drawing lab. So each of these skills would have been assessed twice. According to the handbook, each of these skills would have been assessed twice, right? And then we would use 1 drawing lab. Amongst all the other drawing labs that you have, you just choose 1 to be assessed. Can I go again? So we are clear. So each of these skills are to be assessed twice. All right. So 2 MM, 2 ORR, 2 PD, and AI, and we have 1 drawing lab. How much is that now?
9.
Good, good. Are we clear now? Are we on the same page?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Hello, good
One
morning. I am really not clear because I was told last year that the 8 labs included the drawing lab. And I was also told that for AI, it would be one lab being assessed for AI and not 2. One for drawing, one for AI, but the investigative study, which is marked out of 20, would be a part of the AI.
All right. Ms. White?
So am I missing something here?
I'm here, Mrs. Francis.
Let's go back to the handbook. I have it. Let's see if I can find it. Because much have changed since. All right. I've opened. It says 8 labs. Wow. It says 8 labs to be assessed. 1 drawing. All right. All right. So it's 8 labs. According to the handbook, it's 8 labs. Good.
Yes, I am listening to you, Miss, but how do
Yes.
we arrive at 100 marks? Based on what you're saying, because it is marked out of 100. And I was told that for the it's 20 marks. For the OR, it's 20 marks over the 2-year period. Drawing is 10. And the AI, it would be 1 AI 10 marks, and the investigative study 20 marks,
20.
and the 2 PD 20 marks, totaling 100 marks.
2 PD that will be assessed?
Yes, Miss. Yes, Miss.
No. No, it's not 2 P that will be assessed.
How many PDs will be assessed?
1 PD, 2 PD, sorry, my bad, 2 PD. So each of them, as I said before, each of them will be assessed twice.
Yes, in order to arrive at the 100 marks.
Right.
Yes, it's 2 PDs.
Yes, it's 2 PDs.
Miss Powell, just to state.
Yes, 2 PDs.
Just to
But
state.
the problem I'm having is the AI, because I was told it's 1 AI in addition to the investigative project.
That is correct, Miss Powell. Just to say, I'm just going to restate what Mrs. Francis had said. She had initially not mentioned the drawing lab, which she later corrected herself to say that 2 of each skill, 1 per year, as well as the drawing. So that's a total of 9 labs. The implementation, we also refer to it as AI, which it really is, because that is what is marked for. That's a skill that is graded in the implementation or the investigative project. So in essence, it's 2 AI, except one is 20 marks and the other is 10.
10.
And that's how you end up with
Yes, yes. I am clear on that. I am clear. Clear on that.
All right.
Yes.
Are we clear now? Are we good with that?
Yes, Miss.
All right, so if you, well, let's, according to what is on my screen, right? As I said, all the skills are assessed twice, right? So that would give us 8 labs and our drawing lab.
Hi, excuse me.
Yes.
Hi, good day. My name is Mitra from Trinidad. So just to perhaps seek some clarification. So how we were told the labs were distributed. So we have 5 skills. Each of them in terms of the marking marks, the person who's asking about the 100 marks. So we have the 2 which is 20 marks overall for the 2 years, ORR 2, 20, PD 2, 20, that's 60 so far. We have 2 AIs, one being 10 and the project being 20, which would give us 30 for AI, giving us 90 so far. And the one drawing lab would be 10, which would total be 100. Right? So that's how you get the overall 100. The thing about the 8 labs, the number of labs, the whole 2-year period, is that it's a minimum. Remember, for a lab, you can use more than one skill. So you can have 2 or 3 skills. I think they allow 3 skills in one lab. So that's how the number 8 arose, where you can have 2 or 3 skills for the one lab. But that's the minimum number of labs for SBA purposes. But you are free to do far more than that minimum required number of SBA labs. Yeah. The other thing is, because I know time is of the essence, is that something that we clarified was that you can use more than one topic in one lab, so that when it comes to moderation, in terms of where you tick off the topics, for example, if you're doing a soil lab, you can also test pH in that lab so that you get the tick, quote unquote, for coverage, syllabus coverage. You can get the tick for pH, acids and bases, that unit, as well as the unit on soils. So just those 2 points I wanted to quickly share with people. Thank you. Sorry about it.
I thank you, sir, for your point and clarity. However, I must clearly state that the handbook, according to the handbook that was shared with us before now, the handbook said that it is advised not to test for more than one skill for each lab. For a lab, try not to test for more than 2 skills. According to the handbook, the new handbook. All right. So that is, yeah, so probably that is new to us. So according to the handbook, try not to test for more than 2 skills at a time.
Miss
right.
Francis,
Yes.
I just want to interject here. I'm gonna ask participants, in the interest of time, please record your questions until the end of the presentation, so that, and Miss Francis will take them at that time.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Miss White. Thank you so much. What would I do without you? All right, so are we clear? Can we move on? Are we clear on the amount of labs that are required of us or that will be moderated? Yes?
Yes, clear.
Okay, great. Move right along. All right, so the this skill is normally assessed as on-the-spot assessment. And this is the only skill that is done face-to-face according to the new assessment policy, the new handbook. This is the only one that is assessed face-to-face. However, I noticed that the last time that it was, that we were moderated, well, my school was moderated, the moderator, and I'm figuring that is in the interest of health and so on, the COVID, they did not ask for it to be demonstrated on spot. So whatever grade that you give the students, that is the grade that they record. However, and they hope that we did it fair and it was done like we said that it would have been. So they would accept the grade, that grade. And I'm figuring that it might change after COVID, right? Now, this is just an example, right? Some of the skills that you should be looking for example, if you're using a thermometer, right? How you hold the thermometer is important, right? But just make sure that the child is using it accurately, and you're using your mark schemes, because you should present a mark scheme with your right? And you make sure that the student would have been accurately doing that lab, carry out the lab accurately, and then you mark fairly for that lab. So look at the ORR. This skill focuses on making accurate observation, recording, and of course displaying your result, right? The lab write-up is very important. So you're going to be marking for that, how they report. And as a result, I see where a lot of teachers, they would mark their discussion heavily, right? And they would probably give questions as to how to direct the discussion. And they would give points, allot points to those questions that they would use to direct the discussion. AI, right? This skill focuses on the ability to identify trends, right? And to explain what you observe. Calculations and equations are normally involved. Or grade PD. PD lab is one of those labs that normally challenge both teachers and the students. All right. So the PD lab says that the students should develop the ability to develop hypotheses, of course, and devise meaning to carry the investigation, right? Plan experiment with a little bit of guide from the teacher, use control where possible, right? Execute a plan. Well, of course, with the teacher's guide, but they should be able to execute the plan using the mark scheme and all of that, right? Modify original plan or sequence of operation as a result of differences, right? So executional plan or observing unexpected result, that is also part of the PD. Now I'm going to ask that you would use a scenario for the students. Please do not just give them, some of us just write what it is because we want them to pass and we don't want the hard work of marking and giving back feedback. We give them the scenario, but allow them to come up with the scenario. All right, allow them to use their minds, their analytical skill, their thinking. Let them explore, right? And make the thing applicable to real life. Now they should recognize problems and they should formulate, of course, hypotheses and all of that. And you know the rest. Right? So remember that the investigative project, which is the AI, all right? So one PD, so the other PD normally has an investigative part to it, and that is normally carried out in the second year, all right? Is that clear? All right. Now, Now, this is very important because oftentimes this question is being asked. The students who are pursuing two or more of the single science subjects, such as biology, chemistry, physics, can they use the same SBA for all? No, they may have to carry out one investigation only from any one of these subjects. The marks for the investigation can be transferred across subjects. The mark for the investigative project can be transferred across subjects. All right. Let's look at some mark scheme and a few examples. Let me just stop sharing this and share. All right. Are you seeing? Are you seeing my mark scheme now? Miss White?
No, miss.
Are you still seeing the PowerPoint or are you seeing my mark scheme?
No, I'm looking at let's take a look at a few mark schemes.
Oh, all right,
So
let me stop sharing that.
Okay.
Stop sharing this and I'm going to be sharing. All right, we're just going to take a quick look at the generic mark scheme. This is what you should use as a guide to creating your own mark scheme, all right? Good. All right, so we have MM, Please look at it. It is found in the syllabus. Use it as a guide to create in your mark scheme. That's what it is there for. Normally moderators would travel when they are going on-site moderation with this, just in case the teacher doesn't have an appropriate mark scheme, you'd use this generic mark scheme. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this. I don't think we need to go through it. Do we need to go through this generic mark scheme? Yes, no? An answer from someone? Take it?
No, miss.
Great.
Yes.
Right.
No,
Yes.
miss, we're fine.
All right, good. Ms. White, what time do we end again?
I believe we had an hour to start with, and we have gone a little bit over 30 minutes.
All right, let's look at this mark scheme. All right, so this is actually guiding you as to the labs that you can do over the 2-year period. All right, look at the units and look at some of the labs that you should or you can do under each unit. All right, and then from that you can choose the labs that you want to be moderated. Now let's look at the first lab, the drawing lab. All right. I'm going to ask you to observe this mark scheme for me and let me know what you think of it. What do you think about this mark scheme? It says drawing, the lines are clean and continuous, 1 mark, no shading or unnecessary detail, 1 mark, faithfulness, 1 mark, drawing, shows reasonable proportion, 1 mark, labeling, 1 mark, the lines should be horizontal, label and annotation, 2 marks, label written in script with the uppercase or lowercase, 1 mark, title written appropriately, 1 mark, magnification, 1 mark. And this is coming straight from, well, it is guided by the generic mark scheme. I'm going to ask you to observe this. I'm hoping that you're able to see it clearly. Observe this piece of Are you seeing it clearly? Do I need to magnify it? All right, it says a drawing lab. And this is the mark scheme that was developed for it. All right, so they're marking for clarity. Right. Lines, and so this one comes straight from, this one is developed from the generic one, where they're marking if it's large, if it's clear and appropriate, the lines are straight and on cross, label, good, in a column, forming a column, right? At least 3 pertinent, structure appropriate, and it makes sure it is annotated, 2 for annotation, correct magnification, diagram with solid lines, and it is continuous and even. All right, let's look at the drawing and tell me what you think. So it's a carrot, all right? Now
could you repeat a little bit more, miss? Thank you.
Great. All right. So let's look at the drawing. Is it clean? Is it clear? Is it continuous? Is it annotated? Is it magnified? Did they do a magnification? All right, in your opinion, so this teacher marked and gave the student 3 marks only. And they gave them for labeling and for an accurate representation, right? And for clarity. What do you think?
Could you have a look back at the mark scheme?
All right, I'm hoping that the mark scheme is clear for you. It says drawing should be, all right, let me use the other one. All right, here you go. Or do you think that market was fair?
So I would give 1 for the I think that for the first criteria, large, it's clear, and it's proportionate. I would give 1 for that.
1 for that, yeah.
Structures are represented. The label lines are straight, they are not crossing each other. They're not forming a column anyway. There are 3 structures identified. The magnification is displayed. So they didn't get a mark for showing calculations, but the mark scheme does not require calculations to be shown. So I'd give a mark for the magnification. The lines are in continuous lines, and they are not of even thickness, so they lose a point for that. And there's a title at the bottom, and it's underlined. So I think it values more than
How much would you
3.
give to that mark, to that lab?
The first criteria 1. Okay, so 2 for the first one. 2 for pertinent structure. No, it's not annotated. So 2 for the first one. The label lines are straight. The magnification is displayed. And the last one, which says appropriate title underneath 2.
All right. So that you sum that up and you would give your student how much mark?
Was that about 5?
All right, that's what based on what you said, that's what I calculate also, 5 marks for that. But this teacher, do you think this teacher was a hard marker? Magnification, was it displayed? No calculation, all right. But it was, it was displayed. Very well. And you mentioned that they didn't ask for calculation, but it was displayed. All right, what do we say then, ladies and gentlemen? Do we agree? Anybody else with any other point?
Jack, looking back on the, can you go up to the diagram for me, please?
Yes, please.
Correct.
Sure, here.
There was a criteria that required a correct magnification displayed. That was the criteria for 1 mark, correct? Magnification. So the teacher would have known, because on this line on the side that says 14 centimeter, that's supposed to have been the actual size of the carrot, where the teacher would be able now to measure this drawing and divide it by the actual size recorded beside the carrot, not the measurement on the paper, but the actual one. And that's the way the teacher is able to determine if the magnification is correct. And based on the fact that the teacher gave the student 1, even though the student had 1.1, I'm figuring that 14 centimeter is the length of the drawing, which would not have been the correct, in any case. So I believe that's why the student would have lost 1 mark. That mark for magnification, it was not correct.
Right. Yes, because the teacher would have been there, as you said before. Great. All right, you see, different teachers would have analyzed it differently. All right,
So are the,
you would have
is the student losing the mark for not stating the magnification correctly? Or is the student losing the mark for not mentioning the view or showing the calculation?
For one, it's not correct.
Well, the teacher, if you notice what the teacher has to the bottom of the page, no calculation of magnification. However, as was pointed out earlier on, that the mark scheme did not ask for calculation.
So are we able to measure that drawing now?
Can we measure this drawing now?
Yeah.
You want to measure
have
this
the
drawing?
actual size, because then we would clarify if it's actually the correct thing. The student has 1.1.
All right, go ahead and measure. I don't
think
have
I'm
a
able to
measuring
measure
instrument
it
with me right now.
I don't
we don't
think
have-
I'm able to measure it since it's not scaled.
All right.
So we don't
So
have
in
the
that case,
specimen also. So we won't be able to calculate. But if I could just comment with the mark scheme that was shared, right? That seems to be a kind of a dated mark scheme because a couple years now, CXC has said that calculations are required for magnification. It's not just stating the magnification. So we have to award marks in the mark scheme for the calculation. And then if you want it stated in the title, then there can be another mark for that. So that mark scheme needed to be improved. The other thing is that annotated diagrams, as you mentioned, Ms. Price, annotated diagrams are required for integrated science. All diagrams have to be annotated so that mark scheme needs to be adjusted to be updated to the new requirements. And the parts in the mark scheme where it had that this is worth 2 marks, there has to be a breakdown to say of the 2 marks for, let's say, clarity. 1 mark is this, these are the criteria for this 1 mark. And the second mark, this is the criteria for it. So that needed to be, because there's so much confusion. A person, a moderator coming in, us looking at it now, we don't know what the teacher's interpretation is. And of course, worse than that, the student, let's hope that the student got the mark scheme before. The student won't know how each mark is being awarded to work towards achieving that. Yeah, and then this thing that's being shared right now, more feedback needs to be placed on it so that the student knows. Because if a student just has clarity 1 out of 3, they don't know when they're doing their second drawing lab. How can I improve? How can I get the 3 marks? So the teacher needed to put more feedback to say, you know, this is required. You needed to do it this way, something like that, to make sure that the student benefits from, because of the nature of SBA, it's performative assessment. So they need to know when an actual SBA lab is, this is what we require. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is why we're here today. The mark scheme needed to be adjusted. And obviously the person was not using the CSEC mark scheme as a guide, because they're actually asking that you do some calculation for magnification, right? They're asking to show that they're asking you also. And it's also important to know that the student might not have been given the mark scheme. So the teacher might say, make sure you do your drawing, and the child might just do what the teacher said, right? And not see the mark scheme as, and would have been more informed as to how to carry out this lab. Yeah. So be careful of the mark scheme, as was said earlier on. Please use the syllabus, the one that is in the syllabus, as a guide so that we will not mislead the students. And more feedback needs to be given. When during moderation, they can mark you down for that, not having enough feedback. All right, let's look at another drawing lab. Let's see if this one is better. All right. Is this one any better? Using the same mark scheme. You notice this one has 14 mm for the actual.
Except for the annotation.
Say again?
Except for the annotation, there is no annotation. But
there's no annotation.
Yeah, but it seems okay.
Yeah, but that 14 mm, what is that 40 millimeters? And then to the right, it says 7 centimeters. So there's a mismatch with the units being used. So that's something you need to pay attention to.
Yes. So I'm going to ask Mr. Where is she?
Mrs. Francis, can you zoom out a little bit so they can see the entire piece?
All right. I'm going to ask one of my bright spark to just mark this one quickly. If you notice, this one was not marked. You're going to be marking this one for me quickly using the mark scheme that we had before, the generic mark scheme. Do you want to look at the generic mark scheme again? Because after this, we're moving right on because we need to look at a PD lab.
Yes, please.
Who is marking? Say again, please.
I would like to look at the mark scheme again.
Oh, great. Let's use our generic mark scheme. This one comes straight from, yes. Let's use this mark scheme to mark. All right, get a clear view of this so we can go back on the drawing. All right, we're looking for clarity, presentation, reasonable size, labeling, magnification, and as was mentioned, magnification is requiring that we do a calculation. So we need to calculate. All right, can we go back to the drawing now? Can we?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, good. There we go. Good. All right, we do that 2 minutes because we are time is against us just now. Who's finished? Come on, bright spark. Do we have a token, Miss White? Give to the first person to complete.
That can be arranged.
All right, great.
All right, can I try?
Go ahead, please.
All right, so for clarity, I probably would give her or he 1.5 because the lines are not quite clean. So maybe 1.5, because looking at the top right there, there's some uneven thickness at the top.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 1.5 for clarity. For reasonable size, the size look okay, so they would probably get the 1, the full mark. Magnification is there. Let me see now. Magnification. Magnification is it is 140 centimeter over 7.
Sorry, dear, the magnification is incorrect.
The calculation is
The
incorrect.
magnification is incorrect. So it's 0 for
So that's
magnification.
0 for magnification.
It's not centimeters, it's times. So there should be no centimeter there.
I'm happy somebody picked that up.
Yes.
So it's not correct. So it should be times 20.
Yes.
I would give a
times
6
20.
out of 10.
6 out of 10. Would you give the student even a little point for actually making effort to write up the magnification? No?
Come again?
For the
Would you give a
formula,
point?
because
No,
the
they don't
unit.
need to put the formula on the lab.
Okay.
Just put how much the word that out by itself, and then they just put MAG and they put the times how much. So no measurement should be there. No what we call units. Units of measurement should not be there for the magnification. So it's just the times, the number. Because remember, the magnification, I think, is the scale to which you draw the specimen versus the representation that you have made.
Right.
So once you're doing, it's about the scale and not the measurement, not the length or the width or anything like that.
All right, great. And while you touch that, while I'm waiting on the result, I just want to, because this question have been asked over and over, how do you magnify? Of course, we're looking at the drawing over the actual size. The drawing, as they measure, you measure the tip or the apex of the drawing and the bottom, so apex and that end, and that now over the drawing over the actual drawing, the actual specimen.
The length of the line, the length of the line looks a little bit more than where the apex is.
Yes, it's a little bit over. But if you notice it's a little bit over at the top, but at the bottom, I think it is short. Yes.
The units are incorrect.
Units
they
are
don't have the
incorrect.
same unit, centimeter, millimeter units. You have to use 1 unit.
Very well. Very well.
And one unit would cancel out the other. So that's the reason why you wouldn't have any units in your magnification. Centimeter divided by
for the final answer
would cancel out the unit.
Right. So you would have, right, for the final answer.
I just want to point out here as well that where the student has 14 millimeter, whatever they measured that line to be, it's actually supposed to be the size of the actual size of the specimen that should go on that line, because that's how the teacher can determine whether or not the magnification is right. So this drawing that they draw represented this specific length of the actual. So it's the actual, the length of the specimen that goes where the 14, because you notice the child has its underneath the labeling for vein. It should be where the 14 millimeter is.
All right. Are we all seeing that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, miss.
All right, great. So, all right. So I just want to know someone to give me how the mark that you give to this student, and we move right along. How much mark would you give to this child? Out of 10.
7.
7. All right. So we're giving 1 for faithfulness, or 2. How did you come? How did you get your 7 marks?
I was about to mention that I don't know what to allot for faithfulness, because I see the title and I don't know what leaf I'm looking at.
Drawing of the external structure
of the leaf. I don't know which leaf I'm looking for, so I don't know how faithful this drawing is.
All right.
I don't know. I gave a 0 for title.
this teacher. But I guess the teacher who would have been marking it would have probably figured that, you know, the child know the leaf that they are drawing, you know. So probably they would have, you know, been thinking a little bit different from you. But of course, we're saying that it needs to be clear. When someone picks up the SBA book, they should see, right, how you mark, right? They should see the mark scheme and how you allot your marks. They should see that it is fair, right? And it is consistent, meaning right across. All the students should benefit from this marking, right? And this mark scheme. All right, so the title could have been a little bit neater, but I guess we're not marking for that. But we need to just guide them so that they can get maximum mark. Remember, 20 points going into exam is quite an amount. And if they fail the SBA, then we could almost say that they don't need to go in the exam because they are going to fail.
Miss, could we lobby for more marks to be allocated for CXC, please? For the SBA, I mean. I think that 20 is not enough compared to other subject areas that their SBA weighting is 60% of their final grade. I just think it is unfair.
You think we could lobby for that?
Yes, Miss, because some other subject areas like 50 and 60% of their SBA is their final grade, contribution to their final grade. So they only have to go in the exam to make up another 40% to pass, which is unfair to the other subject areas that only 20% of the SBA is their final grade.
I also think that we could talk to our friend A.S.T.J so that they can help us to lobby. I don't think that 60% is kind of too much. This is my personal view. It's kind of too much to allot for SBA. You think so too? Because it is going to be done under guidance of your teacher and your parents and whoever else. So you can fix and go back and you fix. So having 60% going in, and even if you didn't do well in that written exam, right? Yes. Which probably could help. Probably that 40%, right, is just too little. And sometimes the students really don't know anything. But one good thing, though, that we know, that I noticed that the exams contain a lot of lab questions. Do you notice that? Have you noticed that? Yes, a lot of lab questions. So it is now our responsibility, or the students' responsibility, to make sure that they carry through the lab and they understand. So because one question I looked at, they're actually writing a lab. So it is important for them to understand very well what they are actually doing.
Metro, again, if I could just shed some light on that. I think the weighting has to go with, remember, integrated science is a single award. So when you look at things like that, that's how they do the calculations, where subjects which are more practical get a higher percentage for the SBAs and stuff. So, you know, like the cognitive sciences, biochem, we have a different weighting in terms of, so that's how the council calculates that. But just to go back to the drawing, right? We again need to look at the mark scheme. Where the mark scheme said reasonable size, we have to be, as teachers, clear what is reasonable, because if you have a frugal student who thinks, I want to save paper and put 2 drawings on a page, so we need to say that your drawing must be spread over 3/4 of the page. So we need to be clear on what reasonable means to the students. Yeah.
Okay. And that would be based on the specimen that you present to the students.
Yes.
Am I right?
No. So when you have your mark scheme, whatever you are drawing, you want your drawing to be larger than 3/4 of the page, and then you calculate your magnification, whatever, however. But your drawing, it can't be subject to interpretation what reasonable is, and the mark scheme needs to be clear on that.
Reasonably is,
I agree.
5%. Well, that's what is expected. That's what I learned for moderation. That when they say reasonable, it's reasonable mean at least 75, and that applies even to graphs. So whatever they're drawing, reasonable mean at least 75%. 75% of the page or
Right.
graph are.
So a person who doesn't know that
Oh.
would not know what it means, and which may be the student. And if you look at that last drawing, does it really cover 75%? So can the mark be awarded for that? Yeah.
I think you're correct. You know, you're correct. Miss White, yes, 75%, but make sure you state that clearly so the students can understand that, that my drawing size should be this size, and all of them would have similar size in their lab book. All right, can we move on?
Yes, Ms. Jaminin, we have about 15 to 20 minutes remaining in our breakout room. So Ms. Rice, take it away.
Good. All right, I must remind us that, well, according to the handbook, we can mark for 2 skills, mark 1 lab for 2 skills, right? And they are asking to try not to mark for more than 2. Now, this lab was marked for 2 skills, food testing lab, and in their specifications. So the person created this mark scheme, gave their specifications. They're asking that this be done for 1 mark, that be done for 1 mark or 2 marks. All right, so based on that, the students should be able to carry through the lab carefully and accurately. Then it can be marked for, how can this lab be marked for AI? Somebody quickly just tell me. Do you agree with marking this lab for AI skill, the food testing lab? And most of us have done that. We know what it really is. Why can this lab be marked for AI?
It can be marked for AI because you basically have to analyze the observations, make an analysis. So basically, if you got a particular color change, you should be able to draw some inference and do an analysis and interpretation of the results that you collected.
And that comes out where? In our discussion?
That would basically come out in a discussion. If you're required to represent the data in table form, the table should at least have somewhere where you record your inferences.
All right, normally I've seen a few tables coming from this lab, right? And even the syllabus actually suggests that we use table to record inferences. All right, I'm going to ask, let's quickly go through a PD because we're going to be dividing ourselves in 4 groups. We have 41 persons, Ms. White, and we are going to take 5 groups. We're going to take each. We're going to write a lab for each skill. And we are going to identify a leader, or probably amongst themselves, they could find, they could choose a leader and carry out these labs. You're going to be writing a lab, and then you're going to make sure that all the group members' names are on that lab, so it can be reported to our president. And they did mention that they will be doing some sort of recognition of these persons. Now, look, let us jump to a PD lab. Now, the PD lab, we were told that we should have a problem statement, right? Now, we're not giving the students a problem statement. You know what I see sometimes when I'm marking, when I'm moderating? The same problem statement that is in the textbook. We just pick it out and we give it to the students and we let them work towards it. We're not allowing them to think. And sometimes we even write the labs for them, but we're not allowed. We should give them problem statement, and so they can come up with their hypotheses, they can generate ideas, all right? So let us look at these problem statements and tell me which one is best or better. Number one. Do you want me to read, or Miss White, do you want to read for me?
Okay, no problem. Judy observed that bread stored for 2 weeks on the dining table grows fungus, while bread stored in the refrigerator stayed fresher for well, I think it should be stayed fresher or lasted for a longer time. That should be rephrased somehow. Plan and design an experiment to test your hypothesis. Okay. Number 2 scenario said students were asked to, I think, they store bread for 2 weeks on the dining table. Grows fungus while bread stored in a refrigerator. Okay. Take of the students were bread stored for 2 weeks on the dining table grows fungus, while bread stored in the refrigerator stayed fresher for a longer time. I think we should take out last.
Last.
Yeah, take out last. And take off the student were asked to. Just take out, just for number 2, bread stored. This is the observation. Bread stored for 2 weeks on the dining table grows fungus, while bread stored in the refrigerator stayed fresher for a longer time. So take off students were asked to.
Take off students were asked to. All right, so these are.
Were asked, why?
These are statements that were taken. All right, these are statements that were taken from the PD labs that I have observed. All right, so I just give them to you so that we can look at them and we can critique them and make them better. All right, and going forward, we will be very, very careful as to how we state. We state the problem statement. All right, so which other adjustment you said, Ms. White?
Yes, change, all right. For number 1, take out stay fresher for a longer time, take out last. Just to fix the English. And I think number 2 should read, students were asked why. Students were asked why bread stored for 2 weeks. Yeah.
All right. You see the nuances? So we are picking up the nuances in our labs so we can make ours better. Better or best is what we aim for. So which of these statements, now that they are, we have taken out some of the nuances.
I would say both are suitable.
Both are suitable?
Right.
Let me hear from another person.
Miss, I prefer number 1. And why I choose number 1, well, that's how I normally do mine. And I did a same A.S.T.J workshop, but I was in the chemistry group, and they said that we're supposed to give the students a scenario, not just like the statement that were number 2.
Right, you not just ask them to do this, but give them a scenario.
Scenario.
They can figure how to write the hypothesis. Yes.
Right.
All right. Anybody else wants to share? Yes.
True again, harassing, sorry. So 1 is the better of the 2, but there needs to be something in between the 2 sentences, because we have the observation that Judy made, and then the second sentence says plan and design an experiment to test your hypothesis. But in between that, we need to tell the students, create a hypothesis based on Judy's observation, and then you can plan and test whatever. Because as it is, it suggests that Judy's statement is the hypothesis, which is not a hypothesis. Yeah.
All right. Create an hypothesis too.
Based on Judy's observation.
Okay.
All right.
And for the second one, we could even add, according to Sir, create a hypothesis to answer the question that was asked.
That's at the end of the sentence. We could ask them because we have not ask them to create the hypothesis even now.
Because it can be based on an observation or just answering a question.
And create an hypothesis to
answer the question that was asked.
all right. So you see how much nuances we've found in this statement. And I'm sure when the teacher wrote this, she thought that it was perfect and the students would be able to follow. So you have to be clear as to what is it that you want them to do. Of course, you're going to give them the guide as to what is expected to be in the P&D lab, right? You notice a little bit more, let me go to the mark scheme. All right, this is the mark scheme for stating the hypothesis, 2 marks, the aim, 1 mark. All right, well, right, wow. There's the material and procedure, 4 marks, right? Look at predicted result. Predicted result, 3 marks, and that makes it 10 marks for this PD. 10 marks for the PD, right? Are we comfortable with this mark scheme? Look at it carefully. And then the mark scheme tells if it's not done, how much mark would have been subtracted. Right?
Mark scheme doesn't explicitly state the responding variable, any marks for that, because it's a PD, because you have a hypothesis, obviously you have to say what your responding variable is or what you're anticipating.
All right.
There is no grade
There is
for the material.
For variable.
The material / apparatus list. Well, there's nothing mentioned for the manipulated variable that they did state underneath the method. Plus the method / procedure, 4 marks, and the breakdown is there. However,
none for manipulation. For the manipulated variable.
Right, and then the materials and apparatus. And I'm not seeing any breakdown as to what is expected there for materials and apparatus.
All right, so there's no breakdown, there's no clear guide as to what it is that should be in here. All right, so we pick up those nuances.
And the results is not there because what do you do when you get the results?
Predicted result is where it stops. For the PD, you predict the result that you are expecting. There's where this one and the PD lab would end at the predicted result, but the AI now would have.
That's for the project. That's for the regular PD labs. You have to do treatments of results. This is the PD that feeds into the research project.
In order to accept the hypothesis or reject. Accept the hypothesis or reject it or accept the null hypothesis.
All right, and they're marking for hypothesis. All right, you were saying, sir?
I was saying that there are two types of PD labs. One would be where we follow through as a PD alone.
Right.
So you have to do all the elements of plan design and treatment of results. So this is how we train students to the investigative project, which is now split into the first half where we plan and design, and then the implementation, which is where we get the AI part of it for the 20 marks. So that one, the treatment of results goes into the AI part. So that's what analysis and interpretation is.
Yes.
But in the regular plain, not to be implemented PD, you have to have in your mark scheme how you are treating with results. Because remember, the regular PD is a training for the project. So
for the project, that's right.
We have to show them and model to them, the students, what you do in a PD.
I'm thinking this 3 marks for predicted results, they actually could break it down. I see where they have marks correctly linked to hypothesis, but I'm thinking what they could request was like expected results, which should be a 1 mark, like what is it that you are looking for? Give a 1 mark for that, and then give another 2 marks for this, for the students linking the results that is expected to the hypothesis which was stated, and then that would have been a better breakdown for the 3 marks. So they can't just give 3 marks just for the
Right, many teachers would, well, they normally ask the question, is the expected result just for the predicted result? No 3 marks?
I think the other 2 marks should go to the interpretation part. So I think this, as it stated, basically takes in the expected results as well as the interpretation. But it would be better if there was a breakdown to say, all right, this is what I want to see based on what I'm looking for 1 mark, and then this is why I wanted to see that, or this is what seeing that means in terms of interpretation. Just
I think
separately linked for 3 marks, I think that's too big.
Yeah, they could have explained this some more, because this is what I really think they wanted as. They wanted the expected result to be linked to the hypothesis, right? And if they had explained that a little bit more, then people would probably think that we could view this as a fair mark scheme. But just as it needs to be explained to the students a little bit more.
So basically, the expected results should be a display of your responding and manipulated variables, right? So again, that could be tabulated with a show of how you would display the results that you gathered, as well as basically the manipulated and responding variables, right? What you intend to collect and what data you plan to collect from the experiment that was done. And based on that data that you plan to collect from the experiment, that you are then required to say, how are you going to treat the data that you will collect, right? So how are you going to treat the data that you will collect? Are you going to now accept the hypothesis that was stated? Some persons usually write the null hypothesis. So you're either rejecting or accepting the null hypothesis based on the data that you plan to collect from the experiment, not from the experiment.
And that would come out in your method. So the mark could be linked to the method. The expected
like
results
collection. I think what was this
could be linked with your method.
What was
collecting data collection?
Yes, it sounded like collection of data, because just a table does not indicate what the experimenter should be looking for. The expected result.
Your table would outline what you plan to observe. So you're planning to observe
complete
the bread placed in the refrigerator. as opposed to the bread that is placed in the left in the open. So the
But that
table
is
must
not
show that
saying what you're
you're
expecting to see. That is what you're
It's what
collecting
you're
information.
expecting to see, you know,
It's not
your
what you're collecting
right.
expectation,
information
and
on.
it's based on your hypothesis too.
So in your table, you're going to have bread exposed to one condition, bread exposed to another condition, and you're going to have your results, a column there to say what observation made from these two different conditions.
But would we be able to observe at this point? Is that a predicted result? So we're
We're
not
not observing, but
observing.
we're not observing anything, but we need to have our plan, stating the plan that this is what we plan to observe. So even though we're not recording any results, we need to state specifically or manipulative
Expecting to
variables
see. So this
and
one
what
pays
you expect to see, what results you plan to gather.
So there still needs to be an expected result after you've put that table in. You still need to go ahead and state. If you complete the table, that's basically a completed table that shows observation. An empty table indicates, as you say, what you plan to look for. But there still needs to be something that says, all right, then this is what I'm expecting you to see.
And what you're looking for. Remember the
That's
rule
what,
of
right.
thumb.
It's all depending on what you're looking for. So you're going to state what is it you're looking for, right? And what the result that you expect to have, right? So it's all in the future, right? It's the expected result. So based on this, so if I put the bread, a slice of bread in the refrigerator at this time, and it's safe for this particular time, this is the expectation. This is what I expect to see.
Yeah.
This is the response that I'm expecting.
Remember, you have to tell the child that you're looking for fungus growth or mold growth or whatever, and how to record it. The rule of
Data to
thumb,
be collected.
the rule of thumb with a planning and design lab when it's completed is that you should be able to print it out, walk up to a random person on the street who is not of secondary education, hand it to them, and they should be able to follow it and complete the lab. So that's why the tables and whatever you're supposed to be looking for needs to be in that document when a planning and design, a child has written it up. So that has to be reflected in the mark scheme also, that the child has done all the necessary so that a random person can pull this and simply print it out with no help and do whatever is required.
All right. All right, thank you so much for that. So we know that the predicted result for 3 points, it has to be explained properly, right? And then the student will need some background information as to what to expect. All right, are we clear? Are we good?
Yes, Miss. Are we going to do the work, Miss? Because the time soon finish.
We have 5 minutes left, Mrs. Francis.
Really?
We were having fun. Time flies.
I tell you, I'm hoping that we are grasping, we are understanding, we are getting clarity to what, because I know there are a lot of questions and a lot of expectation during this time, and many other labs, especially the PD lab, and the amount of labs that we should complete are some of the questions that were asked very, very often. I'm hoping that we got clarity that now we're going to quickly, I don't know how fast we can work, but I'm going to, it's now 39. We're going to ask Miss Kadia, I don't know, we could place 10 persons in one group, and then they could choose, we could give each group. Can we call some names quickly, Miss White? I would just put them in a group.
Miss, could we request more time to finish since we're going to be out of the break room in a couple seconds, please?
Seconds, all right.
Yes, that's what came up on my screen. So when we go back to main room, could we ask for probably another 15 minutes?
I'm hoping that they will be able to give us such birthday gift. Yes, we could. We could, because we need to carry through these tasks, and we have our tokens for our colleagues who have participated or would have participated in these labs, writing of these.
Sean.
Mr. Lawrence, I'm pertinent enough to request a few moments if that is possible. And speaking of the voice of my colleagues who were in the room, we're enjoying ourselves, but we had one more task. We really wanted to carry through. Is that possible, sir?
Mrs. Williams, I will defer that decision to you, Madam Chair.
Wow. We'll wrap up, and then I'm sure we can afford you an extra 15 after. Would that work?
Oh, great, thank you.
So Lawrence, that can work?
Yes, that should be fine.
Okay. So those who need to leave can leave, you know? Okay, everybody's back now?
I think so, Mom. I think so.
Okay. All right. I trust that we had a truly rewarding and collaborative day. You can type some initial comments in the chat. My internet is becoming unstable. So you can type some initial comments in the chat. Also in the chat, you will see WhatsApp groups and the classroom. Your presenters would have posted some of that as well. Some of us fell off, but we didn't give up. I might have come on maybe 10 times on both my phone and laptop, but these explain our colleagues and our students. We must thank our presenters from the Caribbean Examinations Council, Dr. Leodana O'Neill and Mr. Devere Whitehall, all the way from headquarters in Barbados this morning. We have to thank our presenters in the breakout rooms, agriculture, Mr. Lewton, Mr. Dookie, biology, Ms. Rose, chemistry, Mr. Setti, Dr. Taylor Campbell, environmental science, Mr. Callum, HSB, Mr. Walsh, integrated science, Mrs. Price Francis, and physics, Mr. Davis and Mr. Roberts. We could not have had a successful workshop without all of you. And we know the work continues as we go into our classrooms and on the WhatsApp groups. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been given this wonderful opportunity. Let's keep the collaboration going. Let us complete our evaluation forms. Let us complete our assignments. Don't be like the students. Let's complete our assignments so that we can receive our certificate of professional development for these 3 hours. Join our WhatsApp groups, become a registered member of the association. We have more in store. We will see you online. Blessings and continue to keep safe. I think 1 or 2 groups would like to meet for maybe 15 minutes extra to complete some work. So we will allow for that.
Madam,
after this. Yes,
Madam
yes,
Chair,
yes,
there are some inquiries as to the evaluation form. I think they really want to tell you how great the session was. So if you have a link for that, you could put it in the chat, as well as information for membership. We want to catch them while they're touched.
Once you complete the evaluation form at the end, you will see information regarding membership. All right, and there's also the teachers WhatsApp link as well.
Madam Chair, that is speaking right now. Does it matter which email Gmail address you use for the breakout or our MOE, ministry MOE?
If you use you cannot use your ministry.
Use regular Gmail.
For
regular
the classroom. Gmail. Use a regular Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
I am reposting, and I think some hands are up. Mr. Walsh, you just spoke. I am reposting WhatsApp groups. Mr. Davis is reposting physics association group. and the classrooms. Wow. Okay.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Williams, for reposting the group links because my system is freezing up. I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
One concern regarding the evaluation form, I think you might have solved the problem just now by suggesting that we not use our MOE email addresses for that. As teachers, we're trying to fill out the evaluation form and weren't able to do that. There are also some concerns that are specific to human and social biology that I'd really want to share with you. And hopefully in some sessions moving forward, we could have those addressed. All right.
Okay. Remember, in the classroom, you can meet with the HSP persons and you can actually have another session in the classroom.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm in Belize. We got the link from our registrar. So
wow.
I'm wondering how, because I'm not seeing how to the access for that evaluation, for the evaluation form, because we kind of came in late because like we got it like a few minutes after 9. We got the link a few minutes after 9. So I'm not sure how many other persons are in here from Belize as well. But I'd like to know how to do that. And I guess you answered the question about the Google Classroom. We can use our regular Gmails?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Madam Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
All right, just reminding everyone, so in order for you to be granted your certificate of professional development for the training, the workshop, there's 2 aspects that you will be required to do. So each subject discipline will have their specific assignment for you to complete, and you will need to complete the evaluation form. The evaluation form can be accessed in the Google Classroom. It should be there in the stream. So once you sign into your respective Google Classroom, the evaluation form will be there along with every other piece of work that you will be required to do for your subject discipline. All right, thank you.
I have one final question. Sorry. Okay, so as I said, because of the suddenness, most of my teachers, because I'm the coordinator for the program, because we mainly do integrated science, I joined that one, but there are teachers who do biology, chemistry, and agricultural, well, environmental science. Can I share the class links with them, those who weren't able to join these sessions for the classroom so that they can access the material and to be able to complete the assignments?
You can share that. Yes. They may not necessarily get an evaluation form because persons registered and all the names are recorded. Those who joined the session. But
excuse me. I'm trying to use my cell phone so that I can access the Gmail. Can you repost the one for chemistry, please? I'm going off the laptop and going in the phone.
I just posted the classroom link for chemistry.
Okay, that sounds like Mrs. Ellis Fall.
Thank you.
Greetings, greetings. Oh, Mrs. Setti, great. All right. Any other
Good afternoon. Can we post the classroom link for agricultural science? I'm not seeing it.
Okay, let me post the entire set of.
Yes, please. Environmental science.
Agricultural science is underneath the part that says code. It's on the first page. So I guess that's why you missed it.
Okay, and they're in alphabetical order.
Not seeing the HNS.
Excuse me, everyone. I just noticed I wasn't really looking on the Meet, on the Zoom, but the codes for the classrooms are actually being presented for us. So whatever class you want, you just go to your Google Classroom, your personal Google Classroom, and join a class, put in those codes, and you'll be able to access it. I just did it, and I got into biology.
Okay, great, great. Can you possibly type some of that as well?
Type the code in the chat for biology.
No, just yes, you can, but also what you just said, because the instructions. Go to their personal Gmail and find the classroom, and they should see type in the code for the Google Classroom. All right, we have a thank you for including Agri and Envy. Yes, we're trying to capture all the
I'm not getting through on this phone. I'm going to change the phone, so the number might be a little bit different. I hope my name come up.
All right. I am typing my WhatsApp in the event since you're on your phone and sounds like you're on the road. Elaine Williams, that's my WhatsApp number. You can shoot me a WhatsApp, I'll shoot you the information. If that will assist. Our presenters are also posting the individual codes for your different subjects. Please just type the subject so that you can get it. Do not leave here without getting some link with someone so that you can be a part. All right. Of course, if you did not get the link, I think we'll post them in our WhatsApp groups as well.
There's a raised hand from Garibaldi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a message in the chat that says the Integrated Science WhatsApp group is full. So I think persons.
Yes, you have to create another one.
The chemistry and the physics is all fulfilled.
It's full as well. Okay.
Mrs. Williams, I didn't hear the information re getting the certificate for this session. I didn't hear what Mr. Lawrence was saying.
Okay, you're going to complete the evaluation form, which is in the Google Classroom, and then you will also complete the assignment for you to get full certification. And
all right,
again,
so I saw where the instructor, I saw where the instructor for biology said it will be posted shortly. Just want to make sure it will be posted in the biology classroom. Where exactly will it be posted?
WhatsApp group link.
Can you repeat?
Yes, in
please?
the classroom, in the biology classroom.
Yes, the codes will be placed in the classroom. I think we'll have to do another WhatsApp group for Integrated Science and chemistry. So we'll also get those posted before the end of the day. All right?
And physics.
Physics is full as well?
I think I heard a gentleman said that just now.
Okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Not the Physics Teachers Association group. I don't know about the A.S.T.J group.
Check if your group is
Environmental Science Google Classroom not working.
NV. All right, and remember to use your personal Gmail and not the ministry Gmail account that you have.
Ms. Williams?
Go ahead, sir.
Ms. Williams, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Go ahead.
So can I leave?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's the closing out. I think one of the groups want to go back in for 15 minutes. Those who have thank you, all the best. Go ahead, and all the
back to school. Mrs. Williams is saying that agricultural classroom not found.
What we
There is no
spread? How?
Okay, remember to use your personal Gmail account. Personal Gmail.
Yes, I use my personal Gmail, but it is
social distancing and sanitizing.
It expires.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
For agricultural science as well.
Use the codes. I was doing that same thing. Use the codes, you'll get through with the codes.
I use the codes as well, and it's saying the same
Codes
thing.
are not working.
Agri teachers, I think the issue with the agri classroom is that you have to use the link. When I use the code, I wasn't getting through as well, but the link works best.
Can I get the code for InterScience and HSB, please?
All right. Can the presenters just post the link in the chat? Again, if you're having other issues, you can send us an email to ASTJ1950@gmail.com, and is also in the chat. stj50@gmail.com. We're trying to assist everyone. I must say thanks. We had over 370 participants today. I know it might be more because some people fell off and came back on. And so we thank you. I think, Mrs. Price, you need to go back in a group, in a room, right? Hearing you, please. Thank you all and have a wonderful day. Keep safe. Blessings all around. All right, some of our presenters-
option is no longer there. I'm no longer seeing.
I am not seeing the option either.
No,
Ms.
he's
Williams.
working.
Presently, okay, fine.
Hello, here. All right, it's coming up. It's coming up shortly for 15 minutes. Breakout room. It's there now. I thank you all. Blessings.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
That is just 15 minutes. So bear that in mind.
Okay. Share. And if you can get a hold of this handbook, it would be good. So you have proper guide and you can make informed decisions. Or here we go. All right, it says number of practical assignment to be reduced to 8. Each skill, P and D, ORR, and MM, drawing and analysis, and interpretation, which is the AI, should be assessed. The rule which states that each skill must be assessed at least 2 times, except for drawing, which must be assessed at least once will not be relaxed. The rule which states that no more than 2 practical skills should be assessed from any one activity will be relaxed. Okay. The I'm seeing your hand, Ms. Taylor Barnaby. Just a moment.
Yes.
The manipulation and measurement skill is the only practical that may need to be done face to face. The investigative project remains the same as stipulated in the syllabus. Teachers should indicate how each lab is done, and then you have the flexibility to do your labs virtually. All right, whether it be a stimulation or demonstration or the YouTube. All right, so you are now asked to state how it is done. All right, the relevant material should be made available for on-site moderation, whether it's done through YouTube, blah, 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 and then you adjust your mark scheme to suit. All right, let's go back to here. Let me take your hand, Ms. Taylor Barnaby.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My question was, are there specific topics from which the labs should come?
Right, as I said earlier on, use your syllabus, and the syllabus, the one that I shared earlier on, is divided into units. In your textbook and in your syllabus, it gives you the different units and the topics that comes under the different units and possible labs that can be done under the different units. So make sure you're doing a coverage of the unit. So if you look in unit 1, right, and you see where a lab can be done for, say, drawing, right, and you look in unit 2, but you use your unit to inform how you choose your labs. 1 second, please. Let me just.
Mrs. Francis, Mrs. Barnaby, in your manual, there's also a list. I think there are 8 topics that must be assessed. So once the moderator is going through your book, those 8 topics must be represented in terms of labs, topics that are covered in your SBAs. So to answer your question, yes, there are some topics that need to be assessed in your labs, and they're listed in your in the syllabus.
All right, so who spoke a while ago? Try to find the person.
That was Miss White.
Okay, Miss
Miss
White.
Barnaby. There's another hand up.
All right, so did you get the answer to your question, Miss Taylor Barnaby?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'm
I'll check the
sorry
syllabus.
because I had to take that call from my supervisor. Sorry. All right, so you got your answer. Is that okay? Everybody understood?
Can I ask a question here quickly, please?
Yes, please.
I didn't hear the last part of what was said. The 8 topics that should be covered. Where did she say they were in the handbook?
There should be at the end in the area that is a treatment of SBA. It's somewhere there where they give you the breakdown and the examples. It's somewhere around there.
It is also in the, well, for integrated science, it's also in the front of the textbook, I think. If it's not to the front, it's to the back. Suggested topics that you should use to cover your SBA. It's in the front of the textbook.
Can I ask that page or that link be posted in the Google class that we're all joining? Because I am not familiar with that at all. The list of specific 8 topics, that this is new to me. I thought it was open that you just did 8 labs based on whichever topics is convenient to you. If it's
Also,
8 topics,
it is specific
share that document.
If you
Because they
moderated,
specifically asked for
sheet.
coverage of the syllabus. So they would have informed as to topics, or they would have made suggestion as to topics that should be covered. I'm not even home to pull all with my
Yeah.
textbook just now.
But if they have a copy of the sheet, like the teachers here, they were moderated, it's also on that document that the moderator needs to fill out. If you're like me, I ask for a copy of it. Those topics are there on that document as well.
Can I ask a question
I
here?
can, I can post those in Google Classroom.
Coverage document.
I can post those in Google Classroom as soon as, because I'm not at home right now. I'm not where my information is. As soon as I get a hold of them, I can post those. I can also
that will be grateful.
Yes, I can also give a link to my Google Classroom that I created when I did a presentation on moderation. I could also post the link. Wow. I probably could post it in the science group where we can find information on mark schema and on what the moderator looks for on on-site moderation.
If you could post the class code here, that would be great because the Integrated Science WhatsApp group is full. Mrs. Russell has a question and Mr. Fleming has his hand up. Or sorry, yes, his hand.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, my question was answered because I'm actually looking in the textbook, and even the moderation sheet you're talking about, over the years, it's always the 19 units, and then you would show you cover a certain amount over for all of them, but I am not aware of there being the specific 8. So if there is that case now, I'd love to know which unit.
All right, so that will be posted. It's on the moderation sheet that we normally use. I don't want to, I guess I want to give you information. I want to send it to you. So I'm trying to remember all of them.
Can I ask a question? The 8 topics that you're talking about, is that 8 topics like country specific? Is it that Jamaica has decided that? Or is that a CSEC council mandate?
Please don't quote me. It might be I'm talking about chemistry here. I teach chemistry as well. Please forgive me.
What happened?
It might not be 8, it's probably more.
Yeah, I know that different subjects have specific areas, but integrated science does not, as far as I know.
What happened? They have suggested topics. They had outlined the unit, and I showed earlier on the unit and the topic that comes under the unit, and then they suggest in the textbook, they suggest, right, that you should take a topic from here and here and here. So they suggest topics that
Can I
you
just share? Can I get permission to share the document, please?
Sure.
Okay. So you'll have to enable me to be able to share. Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So this is the document I think that I've been using, right? So this was prepared for use in 2021, where we revised the document. And this, yeah, so this is the coverage topic here. So all the topics on the syllabus are listed here. So you can just choose, whereas chemistry has specific topics for the SP labs. In integrated science, we can choose whichever one, because remember, equipment, schools, access, whatever challenges we have. So this is where I was saying earlier that if we do a soil and include pH in it, we can get the tick for acids and bases and terrestrial environment. But there's no, as far as I know, no set of 8 specific topics for integrated science to cover.
And sir, it is, as I said, it is in line with the unit that is in the, I wonder if I can find my unit plan. There's a unit that is placed in the textbook, and it's, I think it's also in the syllabus.
It's not the textbook, the syllabus document has to guide us, not a textbook.
I think it is also in the syllabus, the different, out is placed in different units. because all of these topics are from different units in the syllabus. And then you choose one from each of the units and make sure you
These topics here are the units in the syllabus, all of the units in the syllabus, 16 or 18 or something. Straight from the syllabus.
And these are 16. Right, sir?
19.
18, there are 18 topics in the syllabus.
It's 18.
Good afternoon. I'm still not getting through.
Okay. You mean to the class, or you need more time?
Because we have to open up a document that normally the moderator would take on the on-site moderation. So teachers want to be clear as to the unit, the topic from each unit that they can choose labs from or an SBA from.
Link in a
Can you do a document and post it in your slides?
All right.
Okay. And then she said I must go
Thank you all so much, Mrs. Chambers. I'm waiting.
Is Miss White on?
I don't know if she's still
here.
on.
Yes. I'm going to ask Miss White to please give me a call as soon as the session is completed.
I will do, Mrs. Francis.
Thank you so much.
All right, we also want to recognize our regional chairs. We're here today. We have this Adia Garibaldi White, let's say, or White Garibaldi, and Mrs. Anne-Marie Golding McClegan, and we have Mr. Desmond Campbell in environmental. Yes, we're seeing Mrs. Anne-Marie Golding McClegan. Thank you so much. And of course, Mrs. Cadian White Garibaldi, who just spoke and has been assisting throughout, and Mr. Campbell. I missed one, North Central, South Eastern. Mr. Richard Higgins also had come on. So Eastern Regional Chair as well. And Western, Rose is from Western, who presented. Myself, also from Western, and the representatives. Thank you all so much. Continue to have a good day. Let's see now.
Mitchell Nicole has their hand. Well, I don't know if it's a male, has the hand up. Mitchell?
Mitchell Nicole, thank you.
Yes, good day. All right. Yes, and I was in my breakout room, but I still want some clarity. I didn't get to probably explain. But at my school, with the students that we have at NZI, well, we had given them a list of topics that they should choose from based on what 60 is sent, but they were having problems actually choosing a topic. So we decided to give them a broad topic called disease and vector control, with the main focus would be on mosquitoes. But what we want them to do is to do a research on mosquito and disease and vector control with regards to mosquito in their individual communities. So I'm asking, would 60 be okay with like an entire class? Is that doing something like that? They will be doing their own work individually in their respective communities, but they won't be working together as a group, but they'll be having like almost say the same topic. Would that be okay? They will have a different problem statement that they will choose, and they may have, you know, the different questionnaires to do. But I want to know, would the topic be an issue if the entire class have almost say the same topic or same broad topic?
That's agriculture.
Hello?
That
no, human
agriculture
social biology.
Oh, biology.
Biology. Human and social biology. Yes, miss.
Oh, HSB. Bearing in mind that HSB,
yes,
is our HSB person here? So Walsh is still here, but bearing in mind that it's very new, and you said they're going to write up individually and look at different aspects. I personally don't think there should be a problem with that. It do allow some group work to some extent, I think might have been said today.
Okay.
When you get into the classroom, you can also post your question, all of that, okay? And it sounds like you have started already.
Okay, yes.
Yes, so you don't want
Yes,
to
we have started with the students, even though there are some of them are, you know, ahead and some are behind, because you still have to be coaching them and showing them how to write the background and how to go about using a problem statement and so forth. Yes, but the constraint was that I wanted to see if you would allow for them to have like a one topic, and you know, we discussed it with our presenter in the breakout room. Yes. But I wanted to hear from like probably the 6C body itself. Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
because, we had already, as science teachers already discussed with our students, because we want them, you know, to have a firm, let's say, foundational guide instead of them just back and forth all over the place and being undecisive. So
Yes,
we decided to make them have something to focus on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure they will.
Thank
I
you
have
very
seen
much.
it in other subjects, and they have done it individually, although it's basically the same broad topic. So I'm hoping that that will be okay. All right.
Mrs. Williams, could you share the HSB link again, please? I'm still having an issue getting in the classroom.
Yes. Oh, it's a classroom you want? Because I was asking in the WhatsApp if it's classroom or
No, it's a
WhatsApp.
classroom. I want to get into the classroom. So I'm just asking you, please, if you could share the link again. Because when I tried, it said link expired for HSB, Human and Social Biology.
All right.
Madam Chair?
On the right side to get it sharp and nice and close. All right.
Madam
But ironing and unit.
My colleagues, thank you all. Those who are finished, we have been trying to capture all the information. And of course, you can reach out to us, ASTJ1950@gmail.com if you're not getting through. But other than that, we have concluded for the day. And I hope nobody's just joining us now because it's lunchtime. Thank you though for coming, and